Hello, good people. Thank you so much for clicking play. Let me just sit right here so we are not so far from one another. I mean, I could sit on the couch, but I feel like I'd be a little bit further. Today is a nice summer day, and when I came home, I decided, I need a nice chilled glass of wine. So I poured myself some Chardonnay. Welcome to the Alpine region of Austria. I'm just chilling at home because it's too hot out there. Earlier on, I was at the river near my house, and then I decided, you know what, afternoon, it was literally 12 p.m., and the sun was hugging you by force. It became just too hot. And I like to protect my skin. I had forgotten my sunscreen, which I now see the whole time. It was right here on my living room couch. I had forgotten it at home, so I decided, let me just go back to the house, have some wine, and maybe make a YouTube video. Welcome to the video. Feel free to subscribe. You know what I was thinking about when I was out at the river? I was just out there, and I was thinking about the science, if we can call it that. The science that goes behind feelings of envy and jealousy. By the way, I am not a scientist and I do not claim to be one. I am not a psychologist. I've not studied psychiatry. I am just a person with a lot of life experiences, coming from Kenya, living all over Europe, living with different people, working in different environments, working internationally, traveling internationally. I have to say that I have quite some experience. I am almost turning 35 years of age, but sometimes I feel like I'm turning 65 just based on my experience. And I read a lot of stuff. I am a chronic reader and I watch a lot of stuff, both traditional forms of media, TV and radio, and modern media, the internet. If you're a 90s kid like me, can you imagine in this day and age we are calling TV and radio traditional forms of media? You know, back in the day in the 90s, the newspapers were the traditional forms of media, and TV and radio was very modern, even though it was analog, and then we moved to digital, and today it's like traditional forms of media life. It's interesting to see these things evolve. So anyways, the science that goes behind feelings of envy and jealousy is a very interesting one, because, and now I'll concentrate on women, because unfortunately statistics show that women are the most cruel towards one another. A man will not be as cruel, mean, and condescending as a woman will be, which is so sad, because we say that we want to take over corporate spaces, we want more women leaders, we want to take over politics, yet we pull one another down in such a vicious way. And even though science proves that men are more violent, it's normally physical violence. Women are very emotionally violent, if I can put it that way. They can bully you right into mental illness. I have seen it happen in offices where I have worked firsthand, and I thought, oh my gosh, that was just really mean and ruthless. You know, you think like the fighting of men, how men fight openly and physically and call it a day, and then respect is finally founded if you lost, if I beat you up, because that's how their minds are. Like, if I beat you up, you better show me some respect, and we call it a day. So you either quit or whatever you say, but you respect me from today onwards. We women don't have that. There's a lot of cattiness, passive aggressiveness. Of course, it's not all women, but I'm talking statistically, we are mean to one another more than men are mean to one another or to us. And that's been, established in many, many places, not only the corporate world.
Well, you go after people verbally. You go after them with innuendo and gossip and reputation destruction.
But what is an out-of-control woman? What is this creature? How do we know when we met one?
Well, I'm sure that you've met women in your life that acted towards you in a bullying and detestable manner, it's very difficult for women to cope with that because they don't have any real recourse. And female bullying can be unbelievably vicious, and usually it takes the shape of reputation destruction, innuendo, and gossip. It's well documented. It's very difficult to defend.
But
no, men do it too, but men no. But
sorry,
the patterns,
disproportionately women, in your view, or not? Sorry.
Yes, disproportionately women. That's what the data indicate. I mean, if
But
men
where
are
is the data on innuendo and gossip?
well, it's among antisocial behavior among adolescents. It's a well-documented field. So, because people look at aggressive and antisocial behavior in women and in men. And in women, it tends to take the expression of innuendo, gossip, and reputation destruction. And in men, it tends to take the form of outright physical aggression. There's a whole literature on that. It's not a surprise to anyone. This has been known for 30 years. I mean, the rates of antisocial...
I think the idea of the female gossip probably predates 30 years.
Well, it does.
By a long time, but that doesn't doesn't make it gospel,
but
really,
people
does it?
No, it doesn't. But look, women have to express aggression somehow unless you're willing to say that they're not aggressive. They tend not to do it physically, not to the degree men do, so they use other channels. And what other channels are there other than physical aggression if you're going to be aggressive? Well, you go after people verbally. You go after them with innuendo and gossip and reputation destruction. And that's how it works.
And just to be clear, that you think that's predominantly a female modus operandi?
It isn't that I think that.
Well, I'm
it's
asking
that the
you.
clinical literature indicates that. It isn't that I think it.
Well, I'm not interviewing the clinical literature. I'm interviewing you. What do you think?
Well, I'm a psychologist and a scientist,
You
and I
can
tend to base my opinions on what I've read in the broad, relevant clinical literature. I'm not making this stuff up. Look at it this way. All right. Women are much more likely to try to commit suicide. And men are much more likely to kill themselves. And the reason for that is that men use lethal force and women don't. Now that's a big difference. Okay, so then you say, well, women manifest aggression towards themselves and to others, but they don't use lethal force. They don't use physical force the same way men do. So they have to do it some other way.
Why do
what
they
are the
have
other
to do
ways?
something some other way?
Because
you can take
people
your
are
Hobbesian
aggressive.
war against, so you're basically a Hobbesian. Life is
No, I'm
war of
half
all
and
against
half,
all.
half and half. Half Hobbes, half Rousseau. That's why I'm not an ideologue. Because I don't think that people are good or evil. I think they're both.
Even personal relationships, right? My dad used to say it at home all the time. He used to be like, I've lived with many people and it's quiet. But the minute I live in a house where there's two women, whether they be related by blood or not, it'll cease being quiet, and that noise or chaos will come from the two women going at each other. And he's a man in almost his 70s, and that's just his experience throughout life, which, a lot of people will tell you they know that if they're being honest. Myself, I've worked in many places, and I know that once there's an opening for a managerial position or administrative position, and women are involved, there will be a lot of emotions, less rationale and logic, and just a lot of cattiness. By the time one of them wins or, is adapted into that role, a lot of drama will have, happened. Whereas men will just have their eye on the ball and take their fights outside the office when they're having beer. And even if it has to be in the office, it's open, like it's right there in the meetings. No passive aggression, no microaggression, and may the best man win. It's just different. A man will not necessarily make another man lose their job because of a position. They will instead wrestle him to the ground, figuratively speaking, for them to take that position and then have the other man work under them. For men, it's funny that I made the other man a smaller man. It goes into their, masculinity and all that. A woman would rather you lose your job.
That sounds right.
So there must be some kind of mistake.
Well, you'll have to talk to the insurance company.
I did. They said it was terminated. They can't reinstate it without the employer's approval.
And you want me to get involved?
There's medication that I need that I can't get unless it goes through my HMO.
Oh, I'm well aware. I reviewed your records.
What?
You signed a consent form.
No, I didn't. You forged my signature?
Did a Mrs. Applebaum pay you a visit?
You realize what you're doing is...
Civil, not criminal.
Have you thought this out? Because when we go to court...
You mean 6 months from now? You're expecting in 4, no? That's 4 months without the medicine you need. I'm willing to let your child wither and die inside you if that's what's required. But neither of us wants that.
For men, it's funny that I made the other man a smaller man. It goes into their, masculinity and all that. A woman would rather you lose your job altogether. We can be vicious, and I've seen it firsthand. So what is the science that goes behind these feelings of envy and jealousy and unhealthy competition? Not healthy, unhealthy competition. I find this to be a very funny emotion, jealousy, because, sorry, I think I saw some lipstick on my teeth. Sorry. If you observe how a woman who is jealous of another woman acts, you will be convinced that they are making fun of the other woman because they hate them. You will never think that they want to be them. That's not the first thing you think. You think, oh my gosh, she makes fun of the other woman. Woman B makes fun of woman A. Woman B is always gossiping behind the back of woman A. Woman B is always degrading or talking over woman A. She must really despise her and look down on her, and she must really think she's better than her, and so on and so forth. When in reality, woman B is trying to be woman A, and because they know they can never be woman A, the only thing that they can do is humiliate woman A, try and drag her down to the level so they can comprehend her, because she's like up there and you don't know how to get there, and you don't want other people admiring her, so you're humiliating her, demeaning her, making her look small, calling her names, so the others don't look up to her, don't respect her, she has no credibility. You are miserable about not being able to be her, and misery needs company. So you are trying to pull her down to your level so you can comprehend what is it about you. It is indeed a very funny and complicated emotion, because the person woman B, quote unquote, hates is the very person she wishes she was. It's a very funny emotion. They hate what they cannot be. What is it that people find to be so interesting about you? So if it's in a setting where either it's high school, church, the office, woman A is more popular, prettier, more intelligent, or whatever, you want to understand it. You want to get to the core of it. So somebody who is looking in from outside might think you don't want to be like her, you despise her, you look down on her, but it's the very opposite. Over the years, I have unfortunately seen this emotion firsthand, whether it was towards me or towards another woman, the emotion of envy and or jealousy. And I found it to be quite interesting and unique. See, the jealous woman will never admit that they want to be the woman that they are envious of. They will never admit it. But actions speak louder than words. So say the other woman is kind, they come from a background where they learned kindness, or they're just naturally kind, they're gifted to be a kind person, or they are naturally charismatic. The other woman, who maybe repels people or is not as charismatic, will just they will look for mistakes in the kind woman or the charismatic woman and just poke around to find that gotcha moment, right? And in reality, they secretly wish they had those characters that the woman they are envious of has. If they themselves were charismatic and kind and all that, they would not need to do what they are doing. Although there are some people who are also charismatic and are also popular, but still they envy another woman because they want as much popularity as the other one has. So there's that as well. But for the most part, if you really watch and observe what envious people do when they're envious towards somebody, you will see subconsciously, whether they know it or not, whether they admit it or not, they wish they had what the person they are envious of has. And that's just a fact. I have seen it time and time. Like, I didn't even need science to tell me that. I just have seen it. You have your own inferiority complex that is going on, and you're looking at that woman as a threat, and you don't get what is so great about them, and you want to get it because you want it for yourself. And in your little twisted, I want to say dumb mentality, you think that you can only be like her or even better than her by first of all breaking her down. It doesn't occur to you, thank God. Some of us women, it occurs to us that by woman A being great, being beautiful, pretty, intelligent, or whatever it is that she is that makes people admire her, it takes nothing away from me. Thank God some of us have that realization that I can rise on my own lane. I can be even bigger and better than woman A. We can be allies. We don't have to drag one. I don't have to drag another person down. I don't have to break them for me to be great. She's on her lane. I can stay on my lane. She's a leader in her own rights. I can be a leader in my own rights. We can actually be allies up there. Thank God some of us realized, like we knew this since we were teenagers. Other women just don't know this, right? Excuse me, it's the wine. Speaking of which, I need a sip. There are women who just don't know this. They think that the only way they can go up is by first dragging the people who are up down. It's just such a twisted mentality that I've never really been able to comprehend. It disgusts me because I've seen what it does to my fellow women. I've seen it turn girls who were just normal girls. They were kind of nice. They were just, on the right path in life. I've seen that mentality turn them into literal witches, where if I cannot have it, nobody else can. And they just destroy everybody else on their path. And it's amazing to watch because all that energy you are spending on trying to destroy woman A, you as woman B can just use that time, resources, and energy building yourself, just like woman A built herself. Or she didn't even build herself. Maybe she was just, put there by, maybe it's a question of nepotism. Maybe if it's like she's in a big position, maybe her father owns the company. If it's a question of a job, maybe she's dating one of the top executives. You just never know people's story. So you might even be envying somebody who is not even worthy of being envied. But in your little twisted mind, you think you have everything figured out, and you end up not only destroying woman A and others, but yourself. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're wasting time, you're wasting energy, you're wasting resources. I don't get it. And I have to give credit to Jesus, I think, because nobody taught me this. Ever since I was a little girl, I kind of knew it all by myself, that another woman being successful, pretty, having money, desirable, like people stop and stare or turn their head to look at them, it takes nothing away from me. I am still who I am. I am great in my own ways. I have my own talents and abilities, my own gifts. I have characters in me that are also very desirable and enviable. We are on two different paths. Once you understand that, I think you will always focus on building yourself instead of destroying others. Does that make sense? In the end, it always was true that B was always envious of A and tried to be A. It showed itself finally, because you can't hide the truth for too long. It will come out. There are certain actions they will do, certain things they will finally say, that it will come out. You've always been jealous of that woman. So in the beginning, it looks like they're looking down on that woman, they don't like that woman or whatever, but in the end, it always gets proven that they've always looked up to that woman. And so I will give you a quick example. Back at home in Kenya, when I was in the local media industry and I had been stationed in a local TV station, I worked with a certain lady who would wait for me to leave the room, and then she'd start mocking me, making fun of me, and basically just making people laugh behind my back, right? So she'd be like, talking about how she can't stand my voice, which is fine. Nobody created themselves. Nobody gave themselves, a voice or whatever. Take it up with God. But I mean, she's entitled to her opinion. If you don't like my voice, you don't like my voice. Some people go like, "Oh, you have such a cute voice," and some people go like, "Ugh." That's fine. But then she would do it in such a dramatic way. Like she'd stand up and walk how I walk, and talk how I talk, and sit down the way I sit. She'd like take cutlery and imitate how I was eating at lunch, and like throw her hair around and be like, "Nyeh, nyeh," and people would laugh, right? Then a few months later, we were sitting in a room, we were just wrapping up a meeting, and she was not in that meeting. And then somebody goes like, "Is Belinda obsessed with Elizabeth?" Like there, I just said her name, I don't care. Somebody went like, "Is she like obsessed with Liz or something?" And then they all went like, "Right? Like, what is up with her? Like, she just, like, every time you leave the room, she has to talk about you. Wait, let me show you something." And somebody pulled up a clip where they were shooting behind the scenes, and she was like, "My name is Elizabeth Durango." And one of the girls in that meeting went like, "You know what? Imitation is the greatest form of flattery." Apparently, they were quoting some famous person who said those words. I had never heard that quote, and it stuck with me to date. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. She is literally imitating me. That's how badly she wants to be me. But she's doing it in such a way that it looks like she's making fun of me, she's degrading me, people can laugh about it. But in the end, they told me that through her actions over the months, it's more than just being, trying to be funny. It came to me from the people around her. They were like, this is not normal. So you get what I mean? In the end, the actions will speak louder than words. And that's why I also want to address, first, I've addressed woman B, right? Stop wasting time trying to destroy others. Instead, use that time to build yourself. Work on your issues. Where does that inferiority complex come from? Do you have low self-esteem? What caused that? Is it from your childhood? Are you suffering from the pick me, pick me, pick me, not her syndrome? If so, why? Go and sort out your issues, maybe with a therapist, maybe with a trusted family member. Talk to someone, because that's not normal and it's not healthy at all. In the end, it eats you more than it could ever eat A, or any other woman at that. Now I want to address woman A. Keep winning. There's no other way. Keep winning. Do not even try to go and engage yourself in drama and fights with woman B. That's what she wants. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Stay up there. A queen never ever leaves her throne to go and address the issues of each and every single peasant. Who will rule? Who will reign when you're not on your throne? Stay on your throne. Keep your crown on your head. If you start moving too much, your crown will fall. You don't go down there. Don't go to the gutter, please. There's people who will deal with that. There's things and phenomenal, I can never pronounce that word, phenomenon. English is not my first language, I'm from Kenya. There are things that will deal with that. One of those things is karma, consequences. There are ways that will be naturally dealt with, because we live in a universe where everything has to eventually solve itself. So don't go down there to try and clear your name. One thing I came to realize is that when a rumor is spread about you by woman B, who has nothing better to do, when lies are being spread about you, when somebody is trying to take away your credibility, when somebody is mocking you, imitating you, making fun of you, laughing whenever you pass, and just, they're just being foolish. When they are doing that, if you confront them and you waste too much time with them, and you go to people and say, oh, it's a lie, you know what she told you, it's a lie, and you waste, you know what you're doing? It's like she's thrown mud at you, and it's now on your garment. You have mud on your garment. You're wiping it and wiping it, trying to get rid of it by telling people, no, I didn't say that. No, I'm not like that. What she told you was not true. No, that day I wasn't even at work. No, that's not true. I never flirted with so-and-so's husband. That's not true. That's not accurate. You're wiping this mud, and by doing so, you're spreading it. Now you're full of mud. Now you're full of mud. But if you just leave it, now that she's thrown mud at you, it's on your garment, and you just leave it, it will dry. It will dry and eventually fall off. It'll leave a very small spot, if any at all. Very small. It'll fall off. You don't need all that. Woman A, keep winning, and thank you for watching. If this video was entertaining or helpful in any way, shape, or form, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Cheers!